support and cooperation I have received since 12 June 2023, when I was conferred with the responsibility and privilege of being the 15th Chief Justice of the Republic. I am particularly piqued by the many coincidences of today. Cape Coast is the city I was born in, and it is the city I received my foundational education at Wesley Girls High School in. As has already been said, today also happens to be my birthday. Clearly, my times are aligning to assure me that serving the legal community and the people of this country is a call I must give myself wholeheartedly to. So allow me to commence this morning's remarks by reiterating my commitment to give my all and to contribute every leadership skill and essence I have to this role. And this commitment places the commencement and completion of the new High Court in Cape Coast as an extremely high priority. I am sure I speak for most of us when I say that from whichever side of the table one stands to sit, or stands or sits to study, teach, guide, or administer law, legal processes and proceedings, it is still a great privilege to be part of the community of lawyers, legislators, law professors, and jurists.
That some money and that's you.
So we a Chief Justice. Now we took quite wa we pay more wa be private acquaintua. Policy ni shall say nipa ba ko na between in the two kwan. O bodyguard. O security detail na between in the two kwan. O bodyguard. Ono no kwa na between in the two kwan a aban be den e be fa ho ka. So what did the powerful fro bi akwa wa na wo se wo fa ho ka.
Untimi ma bodyguard na ntena se mfo bi fofo
nko policy ne say eye wo nam se wo ko private ntino unu bodyguard pe antiara Chief Justice tu kwan akwa abruchira wakofa ne kunu asanso afa ne baba wanfa ba ko mienu ono ane private travel obi asable da wo salo edi susu wakofa ni kunu tietete wakofa ni kunu ono ane response mo jitu that was a private trip wakofa ni kunu akofa ne baba atam Ghana sika twitwiri die be 2.8 billion old Ghana cedis ni chire obi
enya sa no mo state kan sika mo state your petition in nemo no
ne jai sika ne say
I don't know we use old Ghana cedis no
na obi high tree platform me make new Ghana cedis wa omo mutie ne tete no dodo na no old no mutie ase be 2.6 billion cedis wa kukuru sika twitwiri die o de atwa ticket amana ho business class wa twa bia ma ne kunu aban sika o wa twa bia ma ne ba o de akọ private trip private travel akọ bruchira akọ ginani vacation so akọ bruchira akọ dodro ne ho abruchiri.
Colleagues, as we informed you in our last media engagement, we intend to commemorate World Press Freedom Day in a unique fashion this year. Remember, last year we brought innovation to the occasion by organizing the annual ceremony in Koforidua, the Eastern Regional Capital. It was the first time in recent memory that the national commemoration of World Press Freedom Day was held in the regions. This year we will give the occasion another touch of innovation by honoring distinguished individuals and institutions that have championed and supported the cause of media freedom and the GJ. We are preparing necessary for the ceremony scheduled for 2nd May 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you that the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will be the special guest of honor this occasion. So we expect all our key stakeholders, friends, the media colleagues, and everyone to attach seriousness to this event and grace it on the D-Day. Colleagues, preparations, update on 4th African Media Convention. Update on the 4th African Media Convention. Colleagues, preparations are also underway earnestly for the organization of the 4th African Media Convention, GJ. The chairperson of Tema branch of the GJ, Madam Jifa. Colleague media practitioners, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody knows we are all part and parcel of this entourage.
Colleagues, as we informed you in our last media engagement, we intend to commemorate World Press Freedom Day in a unique fashion this year. Remember, last year we brought innovation to the occasion by organizing the annual ceremony in Koforidua, the Eastern Regional Capital. It was the first time in recent memory that a national commemoration of World Press Freedom Day was held in the regions. This year we will give the occasion another touch of innovation by honoring distinguished individuals and institutions that have championed and supported the cause of media freedom and the GJ. We are preparing earnestly for the ceremony scheduled for 2nd May 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you that the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will be the special guest of honor this occasion. So we expect all our key stakeholders, friends, the media colleagues, and everyone to attach seriousness to this event and grace it on the D-Day. Colleagues, preparations, update on 4th African Media Convention. Update on the 4th African Media Convention. Colleagues, preparations are also underway earnestly for the organization of the 4th African Media Convention, slated for Marrakesh, Morocco, from 27th to 30th May 2025. Following the highly successful organization of the 3rd African Media Convention held in Accra last year, Ghana represented. Sorry, let me take it again. Following the highly successful organization of the 3rd African Media Convention held in Accra last year, Ghana, represented by the GJ, is playing a key role in the organization of the Marrakesh Convention. We will keep you updated on further details of the convention in subsequent engagement. But before then, the link, we'll share the link with you. Registration will end in few days, or I think in a week time. So all those who are interested and who want to be in Morocco, Marrakesh to be specific, for the 4th African Media Convention should do well to register when the link is shared. I think the MC will share the link with all of you. Issues of national concern. Colleagues, in line with our commitment to use our periodic news conference to address some national issues we deem critical today, we wish to address two major issues: Galamsey and the renewed Boko conflict. Let's first talk about Galamsey. There is no institution, I dare say, that has stayed the fight against Galamsey more than the media. The GJ has instituted an award category on the subject matter for many years now to encourage our rank and file to keep the cameras, microphones, and pens on the massive destruction of our land, water bodies, and lives by Galamsey. We shall never stop this fight until Galamsey is knocked out. We wish to commend all our comrades in the fields working hard for Mother Ghana, even at the peril of their lives. Colleagues, we have observed some positive steps by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources towards dealing with the Galamsey problem. We wish at this point to commend the Minister, Honorable Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa, for a show of commitment to the fight against Galamsey. We, however, think there are more to do to ensure greater success, such as the repeal of the law that allows for mining in forest reserves and the declaration of state of emergency in targeted areas to ensure a frontal attack on Galamsey. We also demand from the Minister and the government the protection of journalists and facilitation of their work in mining fields to enable them discharge their duties without hindrance.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame.
Government is broke, government is broke. The people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Ghana here on Metro Television. My name is Aldo Moro. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Today is the 24th of April, 2025. This is the day the Lord has made. And as usual, we're grateful that we're back to join the nation's conversation on what's happening in our dear country, Ghana. Please pardon the way I sound. I've been down with some flu, so bear with me. But we'll kickstart with, as usual, looking at the front pages of the newspapers. And Daily Graphic this morning is reporting that GJA demands reconstitution of NMC board. The government rolls out chip-embedded passports. Government Goldfields reach agreement on Damang mine transition. At IMF, World Bank spring meetings, Africa calls for debt restructuring. The Ghanaian Times. Newborns to receive hepatitis B vaccination from October. Dr. Mponsa Achiano. 13 perish, others injured in gory accident on Accra-Kumasi Highway. Mineral wealth must benefit everyone, VEEP. Researchers, policy makers discuss health systems strengthening in Africa. April 29 to 30 at University of Ghana's UG. Ghanaian Times, you must watch this. You mentioned VEEP, and then there's the picture of the former national chairman of the NDC, Dr. Samuel Fosu Ampofo. You need to fix that. You need to fix that. He's not the vice president of the country, so you need to fix that. Ghanaian Times. Anyway, Daily Guide says that Tokonu's response to petitions pop up. Now, new MMDC's lists out. I didn't lose over Muslim faith, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. Muhammad Sachs TTH CEO, Dr. Abdullahi acting. Cultivate spirit of forgiveness, Christians urged. The New Crusading Guide. Baumia endorses Professor Okwe's report, says findings backed by facts. As GMA condemns dismissal of TTH CEO. Government initiates exit plan with gold fails. CJ rejects misconduct allegations. The Insight. African Diasporan Group chases Interior Minister over $25,000 residency fee. Foreigners ordered out of Ghana's local gold market. NPP prepares for another showdown as Osubempa laces boost to face disciplinary committee for attacking Baumia. Pope Francis, the end of a radical papacy born in the south. Kidney cases at CAS quadruple in last decade, partly due to galamsey, nephrologist. Metro Lens. NHIA sensitizes market women to boost enrollment and public trust. Join me on the thank you tour, Baumia to MPP leaders. President Mahama appoints Emmanuel Alote as Ghana Central MCE. Ghana Gold Board begins licensing of service providers in gold trading sector. Editorial, a tale of two removals, hypocrisy and the erosion of trust. Daily Post. Wuntumi's account frozen by the Financial Intelligence Center. Of suspended CJ Tokonu, President Mahama has demonstrated consistency and fidelity to the 1992 Constitution. Eduzi. This is a confession. Sami Jemfi reacts to Justice Tokonu's response. Gold Board commences licensing of service providers. And the Business and Financial Times. Bank of Ghana Governor urges IMF to reform debt tools for Africa. Fix yield curve, restore discipline before bond market return, Dr. Chahine urges. Energy sector remains our biggest economic risk. Finance Minister. JRFE urges Moffat to seek scientific measures to rebuild fish stocks. ADB leverages technology for customer experience at Kwewu Business Forum. So these are the front page stories of the various newspapers that we have received this morning. We're back and I'll be introducing my resource persons who have joined me. Please stay with us.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Merchant furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just a breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashphone store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashphone, feel it, know it.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Fire pomudi ni agubi Ghana fueni age efi say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me de go me jollof mu ni me still ahodoma emane dance
Stanley the barbecue the go on
sankofa natural spices and one you use 100% natural said the happen
Adofo mamunye huge mistake sankofa natural spices the
FDA ejedi nkratu yatu
Taste this holiday for 249 Ghana cedis.
Energy drink.
Ama, nansi mi jeno wo bin enko ye kwao. Ama ma ye bohu se kontomra akija.
Nansi me hu se me nyo basi makura. Ama me kunu me into kwankwa. Oyiwa. Enye mo ko. Give us GC mixture. And in the capsules, you num boom, and one some na more kana. A boy and ma and a memina. Nema ba ye obesima. Na bear must why ye bear messima. Ya, with the boy, I'm a neck giant sour the shelly bottom. No, when you need to say you owe you chop one. GC mixture and a capsule.
A pin for a batter, one more menu for one and Quadawan if you do me.
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson, some more.
Me didn't tum. Mr. Freddy Calico, just call me cockroach. Now, Mr. Freddy once now.
Hey, that's you. Improve car. Yeah. Captain Mosquito, double the action.
Sasso spray. Mr. Freddy Sasso quell. Yeah, to my
Sasso, come and tum preco.
my friends. My name is Kelkit's Toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky whiter, chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kelkits, happy smile.
Where to get polytank?
Oh, and you're fine.
Go straight.
No, I want for left, right.
And that's right. Ghana na ye wono. So when you do more, and ye data. Who knows? I beg, na here. Me pe polytank at all. And you just come in here by you to put your number here. Oh, good to be here. And tell you, bra.
Akuya bulambo kotoman. Emuha.
Like they take to my eyes. Go to the distributor and you give the original polytank. Polytank. You get a sound?
Polytank. Papananka Sankasa.
At the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, our mission is to promote good driving standards on our roads and other public places. We can only achieve this by ensuring that every driver and vehicle owner has access to quality services and the right information to stay compliant with road safety regulations. This is why we are excited to introduce the 2025 National Community Outreach Program, an initiative designed to bring our services and education closer to the public. This initiative is to actively engage transport unions, corporate entities, and communities. We invite you to stay connected as we bring DVLA services right to your doorstep. At DVLA, your safety will continue to be our concern.
Celebrity Impact Awards, GCIA, is an annual awards ceremony that recognizes and celebrates the outstanding contribution and impacts of Ghanaian individuals, corporate entities, and celebrities. It celebrates Ghanaian philanthropy, promotes social responsibility, empower youth and community development, and celebrate achievements in giving back to society, thereby fostering national pride and unity. Here are the nominees for Impact in Education Award category: Newmont Ghana Gold Limited, MTN Ghana Foundation, Olam Ghana, Telecel Ghana Foundation, B5 Plus Limited, Nestle Ghana, Ghana Commercial Bank, Ghana National Gas Company, Ghana Investment Promotion Council, GIPC, Pebi Corps. To vote for Impact in Education, go to www.GhanaCelebrityImpactAwards.com. For enquiries and table reservations, call 053-755-0058 or 053-753-5390. The Ghana Celebrity Impact Awards is brought to you by Visa King, GCIA, celebrating the spirit of giving back.
Enjoy this. Or the shaky kitchen one side on me is by nothing. You know this song? You in my head. I know the voice is no good, but take it like that. You in my head. Let's say George Main is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, come in. Your what? 50 in July.
50 years in July. Yes.
50. 50 years in July.
Yes.
That's how old you'll be in July.
Yes.
And there's no Apampem anything. No.
It's just the grey bats here, the Yoma thing.
John.
Yeah.
John is like John.
In Ghana, John is a different thing.
3, 2, 1, here we go. Listen. I'm a genius. Alaska Street. Keziah, she called this one the Lord thy God. Have a good night.
Where are you, Lord? Where can I find you? You must be in this room.
You're still live on Good Morning Ghana here on Metro Television. My name is Audu Moro. Let me just say that this show is proudly associated, or two brands are proudly associated with the Good Morning Ghana program. That's Polytank, Papano Ankasa, and also Blue Jeans Energy Drink. But let me tell you a bit more about Polytank. So in Ghana, you only get deceived if you're not sure of what you're buying or you don't really know the market. Now, when it comes to water storage, and I'm talking about water storage tanks, the name we all know is Polytank. It has been with us for over 30 years and has been trusted by all these generations. So make no mistake, always choose Polytank for guaranteed quality. It is available at the same price across the country at Polytank partner shops. So Polytank is giving you quality but at less cost. Okay, so be it Rambo, Hippo, Sumo, Super Sumo, durability is always guaranteed and it's rest assured. So Polytank is original, always the best. Papano Ankasa. And let me also warn though that Polytank does not request for Momo payment online. So caveat zanto, as the lawyers will say, which is buyers beware. Let me also say a big thanks to Blue Jeans Energy Drink for partnering, for being a proud partner of the Good Morning Ghana show. Blue Jeans Energy Drink promotes high performance and endurance, and it's an energy drink which has been tested, it's been tried. We know it, and we can testify that it's indeed the best. So Blue Jeans Energy Drink is for bold and active men and women. It's been in the market for more than 20 years, so you can imagine why it's been able to survive for this long. It's because it's fantastic, it's great. So try it this morning. Let me know how the experience is like. So for bulk purchases, contact Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208 128 190, 0208 128 190, or 055 001 000, 055 001 000. So that's Blue Jeans Energy Drink, my favorite Blue Jeans Energy Drink. Try it and let me know what you think or how you feel about it. So joining us this morning is a man who went AWOL, but you can always trust Annie to bring anybody back when they decide that they want to run away. So Annie has brought him back. He was a key member of the Dr. Mahmoud Bamia campaign, and he was always on the ground, and so he could hardly make time for media, even though he's a very good friend of the media, but he's taking time off his very busy schedule. But the kind courtesy of Annie and her magic wand, she's brought Eric Chum back on the show, and hopefully he'll be here for a while. So Eric Chum is a member of the MPP's communications. He's such a fine communicator, and he's joined us on the show this morning. Good morning, sir. It's good to see you.
How are you?
Charlie, what did we do wrong?
Nothing. I mean,
you were on the ground for a very long time. And,
nothing really. Well, you know, I mean, I've always been on this show.
Yeah.
I think it's actually going back to probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Or more. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the
Wow.
first time I featured on the show was somewhere in 2013 or 2014.
Yeah.
It was actually well over 10 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so
Wow.
I'm not sure I'm going to
abandon
anything.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, during the elections, I was on the ground.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after the elections, everybody needs to take some time off to one, cool off, and then also rejuvenate the body, the mind, and the soul.
Yeah.
So we're here.
You know, one thing about losing an elections is that families are happy. You know, because they get to spend some more time with you.
Yes, I mean, but that's one aspect of politics that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
And I think that in most instances, the conversation is about the negatives.
Yeah.
And so if you actually took time to speak to anybody who is in political space, it takes its toll on the family. There are not a lot of things that I cannot actually divulge here, but then whilst you're out there, I mean, politicians are idealistic. So whilst you're out there thinking that you're doing something to support and help the generality of your people, fire is burning at home, right? Because it's also very legitimate that if you have a family, they would have expectations that you spend time with them, and you're available when their birthdays, kids are going to school, and all of those things. And it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So we never talk about these things. Maybe one day you should have
a whole
proper conversation surrounding these things. And it takes its toll. There's all the psychological issues to do with not being there, abandonment issues, and then you have domestic challenges that you would have to come and fix. So maybe when these things happen, it gives people an opportunity to also reset some of these things.
I'm wondering whether somebody's actually taking time off to write about the social impact. And here I'm talking more specifically to family and, how politics sort of impacts on them. Maybe somebody must do some.
It's because usually what happens is that then you guys are the major culprits. I mean, so if you report or even write certain things about individuals without probably being a bit more circumspect and even waiting for the full facts. And you have children, you have wives, you have mothers, family. I mean, all of this, you have friends, and everybody is worried. I'm like, what's going on? I remember an incident where I was out of the country one time, and there was a newspaper reported that I was at Iyoko.
Heart attack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I was actually, I mean, it turns out that somebody says that I've been at Iyoko for some reason, and then they write all sorts of things, and and people are, I mean, affected by some of these things, So, in as much as we can do the politics, there are people behind the politicians who have absolutely nothing to do with the things that we do on the political space. And sometimes I think that it's important that we also take cognizance of these things, And I mean, you would have accounts of children going to school and being called all sorts of names or being aligned because your father is in the news or your mother, or you understand. And it extends to some of these places, right? And so, whilst it's important that because you put yourself up for these things, it's also important that we look at the impact on family and the society.
Okay, you're right. I mean, there's a whole conversation we can have on this, and also joining you on the other side is a man whom I'm sure would have a few words to share on this. He's a family man as well, very young, hard-working gentleman. He's almost like a brother to me.
Thank you.
And Hamza Suhini is the man I'm talking about. He's a member of the NDC's communication team, but he's also a private legal practitioner. And even, interestingly, before we came on, him and I had a certain conversation and had to do with family. And so I'm sure that whilst you and I were talking, a few things were going through his mind, the sort of sacrifices that he have to make. They want to see daddy's not around, they want to see the kids. the kids are wondering, Daddy, what is it? Why aren't you home? You know, it's a bit, it's not easy. But Hamza, I'm sure you can relate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good morning.
It's not easy.
Good morning to you and of course my colleague in the studio. And our cherished viewers out there. Moro, you see, there's always a cost when it comes to any decision you take.
Yeah.
Whether it is a political decision or an economic one.
True.
And so for me, I think that I have grown to accept that when it comes to these costs associated with the decisions that I take, I simply have to find a way of taking it in and making it better. I can assure you that even before I started being politically active, as in media engagements and stuff like that, because I've always operated from the background.
Yeah.
I remember immediately after the 2016 election, I think early 2017, I walked into a bank to do a transaction with my own money. And for the first time, I was made to sit there for close to an hour or two. So I was wondering what the hell was going on. And I think that was about the same time my big brother was very active on the vetting committee. Yeah. So I was wondering what the hell was going on, because it was an experience I never encountered. Then later on, the bank manager came out to tell me that, you see, you have been flagged as a politically exposed person.
Oh, God.
Because of the activities of your big brother. Because he's known. And because of the name Sohini, we would have to secure clearance before we can go ahead with your transaction. I was like, really? Politically exposed person? Yes, I am a politically exposed person, but I thought that it would have been in my own right. You understand? But not because of the activities of my own brother. So, I see, this is how our activities impact people. And for many of us, especially those of us who have for years been committed to our respective political parties. Moro, you see, there are so many things that I cannot share on this platform, because when I share it, the impression that would be created out there is that this gentleman is complaining or has a problem with the political system. Yeah. But you see, the cost associated with it. Right. I've had instances where people...
And remember, the bloggers are watching. So.
Yes, that's the point. And you see, I've had instances where people will call me. I remember when I was in Lagos, my final year, I had an engagement with many of our opponents from the other side, because I have always been active politically, our teen activities and stuff like that. And I was told that, look, you know, maybe you guys should play the politics of some other people in the NDC. You and your brother cannot be in the National Democratic Congress. Because sometimes I sit before my own brother, not even my wife and children. And he's like, Hamza, you see, your actions here are impacting me negatively. And I sit and I'm telling him that, big bro, your actions are impacting me negatively. But you see, and if you are not careful, because we are all in there, it exposes the family. And we can easily be damaged. And in the process, even affect family unity. But what keeps us going is that I always remember what my mom used to tell me, because there was a time I granted an interview, and after I got done with the interview, she was like, why don't you consider joining another political party? Because you see, you people, if you are not careful, at the end of the day, people will draw a wedge between the two of you, because you are all pursuing your ambitions. Yeah. Suddenly, people will begin to position themselves as though they are concerned about Hamza Sohini more than Alas and Sohini. Yeah. Another person would be concerned about, portray the picture that I'm concerned about Hamza Sohini more than I'm concerned about Alas and Sohini.
Okay.
And Moro, it is difficult. Sometimes, family and politics, people do not understand what is going on. But you see, for us, especially the Sohinis, what gives us going is the upbringing, I think, that we got.
Yeah.
We understand that irrespective of what people come around to see, trying to create an impression that they are on your side more than the other person. You get it? You simply know that, oh no, we were alerted as far as these happenings are concerned. Right. And my kids and wife, thankfully, my wife understands, but the children, they will not. Because they want to wake up on daily basis and see their daddy around. Yeah. And they go to school, they see that they are being driven. What is the name? Others, their fathers drive them to the campus, and their dad is nowhere to be found. Just last night, I got an interesting call from them. I said, Daddy, what are you doing? When are you coming back? I said, oh, wait, I'm looking for money so that I can come back. No, forget the money, come back. We just want to see you.
Yeah.
But I got back from that place, it's not even up to 2 months.
Yeah.
But these are the challenges. But like I said, these are political decisions, choices that we have made, and we have to live with it, Moro. So we have the thick skin to face it, but others should learn from it. I always believe that when it comes to politics, no one makes that decision for you.
Yeah.
It is your decision.
Okay.
You take that decision. If there are any consequences, you stick to it.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at political decisions and the consequences thereof. We looked at it in terms of family, but let's look at it how it affects public servants as well. So we're aware of what's happening at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. So the Tamale Teaching Hospital has sacked its chief executive officer, and there have been some reactions. But of course, there are some other misconceptions as well, which I'm sure that in the course of the program we will deal with and perhaps will clarify. Because even yesterday, those of us in the media were a bit confused as to exactly what may have caused the dismissal of the CEO. But if you look at the daily guide of today, Eric Combat, he's reporting from Tamale, and he says President John Dramani Mahama has sacked the chief executive officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku, with immediate effect. Subsequently, Dr. Abubakar Bawa Abdullahi, former National Democratic Congress parliamentary candidate for the Karaga constituency and a senior staff at the University for Development Studies, has been appointed as the acting chief executive officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. The dismissal of the CEO follows an unannounced visit by the Minister of Health, Kwabena Mintah Kando, to the hospital in response to allegations of negligence by the facility's health workers. A patient, one Bavug Salim, passed away at the Tamale Teaching Hospital amid these allegations. The Minister of Health has since established a 3-member committee to investigate the circumstances surrounding the patient's death. The committee is expected to conduct its investigations within 2 weeks and submit a report to determine the circumstances surrounding the deceased death. However, the Ghana Medical Association has strongly condemned the unfortunate treatment of the doctors of the emergency unit of the Tamale Teaching Hospital during the visit by the Minister of Health and the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alhassan Suhini, and subsequent dismissal of the CEO of the hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku. According to the GMA, that's the Ghana Medical Association, the manner in which the dismissal of the TTH CEO was carried out, is an affront to due process and abuse of power by the Minister of Health. The GMA stands in solidarity with our colleagues in the wake of these injustices being perpetrated, the association stated. A statement signed by President of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Frank Sribo, noted that the association recognizes concerns raised by relatives of the patient and the Minister and MP, adding that there are clearly laid down processes and procedures to resolve concerns or grievances rather than these circuses of public engagement, which often only whips up public sentiments without addressing the underlying issues or providing any lasting solutions. Dr. Sribo demanded an unqualified apology from the Minister of Health and the MP for Tamale North for the unwarranted attack on the staff involved. Meanwhile, the Minority Health Caucus in Parliament has equally condemned the dismissal of Dr. Atiku by the Minister for Health, adding that the dismissal was carried out without recourse to due process and raises serious constitutional, administrative, and governance concerns. Now, according to the Minority Health Caucus in Parliament, the dismissal is not solely based on the recent unfortunate death of a patient at a hospital, but rather an exercise of power which, by his own admission, the appointing authority owes nobody any explanation for. And I quote, "The attitude is not only authoritarian, but diametrically opposed to the principles of administrative justice, accountability, and the rule of law. It is important to restate the governing legal framework for the administration of the teaching hospital in Ghana, Section 37(1)(e) of the Ghana Health Service and Teaching Hospitals Amendment Act 2019, Act 1009 provides that the chief executive officer of a teaching hospital shall be the chief administrator and a member of the hospital's governing board. And the law does not confer unilateral power on the Minister of Health to dismiss the CEO of a teaching hospital, let alone the manner and under the circumstances now in issue." Okay, so this is how the Daily Guide has reported it. And it's in most of the other newspapers as well. Annie, I don't know whether we have the video of the altercation that happened between Alhassan Suini and the doctor. I think it's one Dr. Velvet or something. I don't know. Do we have the video of the altercation between Alhassan Suini and the doctor? If it's there, can we please play it? We're looking for the video. Okay, good. Because I know Annie has it. And I also saw the minister, the sector minister. He was also present when the altercation happened. Hamza Suini is here. He is seized with most of the facts as far as this is concerned. Let me pick his thoughts on what he knows thus far as this matter is concerned. Hamza, what can you share with the public as far as this development is concerned?
I hope it's just a mere coincidence, not because Alhassan Suini, the Honorable, is engaged.
Your appearance has nothing to do with the fact that your brother is involved in this. No, it's just mere coincidence.
Anyway, first of all, Moro, let me make the statement that what happened was clearly avoidable in Tamale Teaching Hospital.
You mean the altercation?
Absolutely. Okay. It was clearly avoidable, but I can understand why possibly it had to get to that level, because right after, I've had discussions with many of the players in the video, including my own big brother, the Honorable Alhassan Suini, and he makes a point. I think that I had cause to repeat it on another sister station yesterday, that if you are an inhabitant of Tamale, you will know that this is not the first time we are having challenges with administration, especially when it comes to the Tamale Teaching Hospital. So clearly, the residents of Tamale have issues with the way the hospital has been manned. Indeed, not long ago, I think the last 4 or 5 years or so, you also read in the news of some party activists of the New Patriotic Party actually going to demand the dismissal of the chief executive of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, because they also felt strongly about the way they felt that the way the hospital was being managed wasn't proper. And so they needed some level of accountability.
Okay, this was when? Last year?
I think about 2-3 years ago. Okay. I cannot really remember.
All right.
But it was in the news as well. So this is not the first time we are having these challenges. There are so many complaints that are coming up from the hospital, especially when it comes to how they treat patients and how they respond to emergency situations. This informed the decision of the health minister to visit the Tamale Teaching Hospital unexpectedly.
Okay.
Indeed, it was largely based on complaints that he received from the good people of Tamale. That's why the visit was unannounced. It was not meant to witch hunt anybody. It was simply to demonstrate a hands-on approach to the problems confronting that sector. Tamale Teaching Hospital, for that matter. And to appreciate it, he needed to be there himself. So I'm told when he landed...
so that's the video you shot.
Yes.
Should we play this video before we continue the conversation? Okay, so let's watch this briefly before you come in.
What it means is that anybody who comes here will not have access to the washroom. That's what it means.
No, they will have to move to the one at Orange.
I'm saying that.
Yes, but here
you told me that there's one here and there's a staff. Yes. The staff also have one here, and that's why you brought me here to come and see.
Yes.
Is that not the point?
Yes.
Meanwhile, it's not accessible to the patients.
No, it's only accessible when the taps open.
So
that's the situation. So for a while now, water hasn't been flowing in there. And that's why I wanted you to see. You see that there are sachets. People enter there and they use sachet water and then just dump it there. And that's the situation.
At least, even if it is not being used, they can't clean the place and lock it.
There's no water.
No, you can clean the place.
There's no water to scrub the place.
You don't have water to do anything. You can't make arrangement for the tankers, the tankers to bring water, and so you don't have that arrangement. Dr. Tiki, you are telling me that you can't have water for this place to run this facility.
Let me vouch for my boss a little bit. This is Dr. Valentine. He's the HOD of the emergency. And one night, we didn't have water at the emergency, and he himself got them to get the yellow barrels to come and bring water for the nurses to work. So at our level, sometimes my HOD does his best.
Yes, Doc, I agree. And I'm the first person to admit that there are challenges with respect to water in Tamale. But that's why you're a leader here, that's why you're a CEO here. Not until we resolve the issue completely. I've been on the committee for a very long time, and we have always been talking about this. And we think, we know that you have a way of providing water for the facility until we solve the issue permanently. And that is what we have been briefing us. We know that the Tamale water challenge goes beyond the facility. It's well known in the country and all that. But you cannot tell me that, because if you're not very careful, people come here and pick the diseases from here and go home.
So I decided to pay a surprise visit to Tamale Teaching Hospital to familiarize myself with the conditions under which my wonderful health professionals are working. Although very surprising, but I'm impressed about the reception so far. And let me take this opportunity to salute all health professionals in this country, especially where I am at the moment, Tamale Teaching Hospital, for the sacrifices they are making and they will continue to make for Mother Ghana. I'm the first person to admit that they are not working under the ideal situations, and we don't have the ideal situations yet. But what I must say is that irrespective of the conditions under which they are working, let us try as much as possible to give our best. I'm setting up a 3-member committee to look into the matter. Every life matters. Every life matters. So the committee will have 2 weeks to submit their report to determine the circumstances under which our brother Salim lost his life and how we can prevent the reoccurrence of such a situation.
The call was made, the 4 vents were in use, so there was no extra vents anywhere to put the patient on. So that was the issue that kind of caused the delay. But all the resuscitation was done here. We called the ICU and they said they didn't have any vents available for the intubation. And at that point, there's really little that you'll be able to do without the intubation. So the patient was being bagged here until the patient could.
So when the patient go here, how many minutes did they get you to assess the patient?
Oh, within 10 minutes, because usually when you score red, you are immediately brought to the red zone. There is no situation where you have to delay. You are pushed straight to red. So as soon as you are tried red, you are brought in red.
And then, when did you communicate with the ICU when they told you they didn't have any vents available?
So I think immediately we identified that the patient needed to have been intubated. The ICU call was made.
And they said they didn't have anything.
Yes, so there were no available beds.
So if somebody tells you that at the time they got to know that there was a patient like that, there was an available mobile bed, how would you take it as a man in charge here?
I mean, if there was an available mobile vent anytime, we would have used it. We take patients here all the time.
There's a bit of conflict between what you are telling us now and what they are also saying. So it is either an issue of lack of proper communication or there's a problem somewhere. Either it is an issue of proper communication or negligence or somebody's lying.
I mean, it's a straightforward case. Patient came, assessed, needed to be intubated. There is no vent at the emergency as we speak. There's no functional vent. So the next step is ICU. The call was made to the ICU.
And they said there was no...
They said there was no space. That was the communication we got.
They heard what Dr. was saying. So we have a mobile vent there. And then they spoke to the ICU. The time that they came down to assess and then planned to bring the mobile vents down, that was the time that the patient arrested. So he probably had a stroke.
So from this, I do not want to go there. No, go on.
I didn't get the impression that Prof is now creative for this narration up there.
But that's fine.
Why I made
Let's leave it there.
I made the point that it may be negligent because clearly,
that's fine.
If there was a mobile vent there at the ICU, maybe
if the communication was done at the right time and there was available mobile vent, let's leave it at that. So let's leave it at that.
How often do you get similar cases?
Occasionally it does happen.
That's what you
Yes, occasionally it does happen. I think the way forward is for us to have the vents available at the emergency. And then this wouldn't have even happened because we could have intubated the patient without
So I said what I'm going to say, I said it when I went up there at the ICU. You know, how you handle patients, even if the unfortunate happens, it gives them some kind of comfort. Okay, if the patient is brought, and you are looking for a certain approach, and you've not gotten it. And then
not coming. But you see, if that communication wasn't done, whoever is making a case out of it wouldn't have even known. Because we make it a point, before we intubate the patient, the family must be informed that this is the next step that is needed. So there's no way somebody would have said that appropriate counseling wasn't done. Then how did we arrive at that point and we called the ICU? So that communication has been done. I don't know what's making the issue blow out of proportion, but there's no circumstances under which a patient will come, need intubation. Intubation, you need consent before you intubate. So there's no way we wouldn't have communicated with the patient relief. That was done. And we try as much as possible to discuss the prognosis of patients with patient relatives the moment they come, especially for the red zone, which we all know is high dependency. But I think the solution to this is simple. If there were available ventilators here, then we would have intubated the patients. And then this
Okay, so that's the interaction between one of the doctors at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. I'm told he's called Dr. Valentine, and the health minister. And in the shot, you saw the MP for Tamale North, who was Deputy Roads and Highways Minister there. There's another part of the video where there was some serious give and take between the Deputy Roads Minister and I believe the same Dr. Valentine. If we have the video, we'll play it. But yes, you're telling us, you're giving us a background too.
So basically, based on the information I got from the Deputy Roads Minister, that is why I'm making this observation. According to him, when they had the engagement, certain things came up. And so he explains that the outburst of he later on was made to understand that the outburst of the said Dr. Valentine was largely driven by frustration.
Okay.
Because he picked up information, and I also picked up that information later on, that he's one of the most hardworking doctors that you can find in Tamale Teaching Hospital. Indeed, there are instances where he's had to go out of his way. He had, went out of his way to use his own resources to acquire necessities just to ensure that the hospital keeps on running, especially his department. So he's a dedicated young guy, very committed to the job and willing to contribute his quota to uplifting the image of the hospital. So you can understand, on a daily basis, you walk into the facility as a doctor, you don't have access to water, you don't have access to the necessary things that you need to be able to do your work well. If you have the opportunity of seeing the minister responsible for health and roads, clearly, for you, there is no other opportune time for you to let out your frustrations. But I think that the platform he chose was a bit problematic. And I am not holding him to that, largely because, like I indicated, he was driven by frustration. And in the spur of the moment, we all are liable to can be liable to such mistakes. So, ordinarily, when your superiors are talking to you, you listen, you don't engage in an argument. That is how we are trained. It has nothing to do with political power. Because in any organization you find yourself, if you are confronted by your superiors, the responsible thing to do at that material moment, especially you look at the environment, when they are talking, you don't talk over them. When they are asking questions, you take your time and listen. I think that is where he got it wrong, and largely because of frustration. And that's why it is easier for the system to forgive him. Because clearly, he's a dedicated young guy, very committed, apart from the work he does in the hospital. I'm even told that he has NGOs on the grounds, educating the people about health, like healthy living. And so these are people we cannot joke with in our society. Right. So my plea is that many of those who are uncomfortable with his contact must begin to appreciate that that is not truly his nature. At least you walk into the hospital, you see people dying from avoidable deaths.
So what caused the misunderstanding between him and the deputy roads minister?
It was not really about him and the deputy roads minister. My understanding was that the deputy roads minister only intervened to tell him that, look, your boss is speaking, in this case, the Minister of Health. And so the only responsible thing to do at this stage is to listen and not interject. But if you are given the impression that you are not willing to listen and you are going to engage him in an argument, then what image are you portraying to the many out there who feel, especially the patients, who feel that when they come to this hospital, the doctors are unwilling to listen to them and they are not patient with them? Clearly, you seem to be emboldening that perception that as health practitioners in the hospital, you don't listen to patients. Because if you can demonstrate this behavior in front of your superior, I think that was the whole issue. But even after that, that's why I made the point that the Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister in charge of roads, indicated that he also later on picked up information that the guy is a dedicated young guy and was largely driven by frustration. And so it is easier for his excesses to be forgiven. And he's been in the media explaining to the good people of this country that, look, what you saw out there was largely driven by frustration. That guy is a fantastic guy, dedicated to his work. So I'm surprised with the statement of the Ghana Medical Association, largely because, first of all, if you look at the video, there was no encounter or scuffle between the chief executive officer and any of the ministers present there. Indeed, the minister only complained about the inability of the hospital leadership to ensure constant supply of water, because hospital water should be basic. It should be basic. So if after several years of being there, you do not have a workable plan of ensuring supply of water to the facility, then clearly you have no business being there. But aside from that, I've had an encounter with the SAC CEO, another fantastic doctor, gentle, very calm, collected. When it comes to his demeanor, he's one gentleman you would have no option than to respect if you encounter. And he takes his time to listen to you. But I believe that the government has been moved to take this decision largely because of his managerial expertise. Because if you are unable to provide an essential and basic commodity like water to ensure the functioning of the hospital, and your excuse is that Tamale has water crisis. In our homes, even though Tamale has water crisis, we find a way of having water. There's water. It is not as if there's no arrangement you can reach, especially even with the Ghana Water Company Limited, to ensure that we have constant supply of water to that facility. It is doable. So I'm sure these are some of the reasons that informed government's decision to sack the CEO. It had nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with the scuffle between Dr. Valentine and the Minister of Health on one hand and that of the Deputy Minister for Roads. It had nothing to do with it because, like you have played out, you saw the CEO in white. No encounter or no scuffle or whatsoever with the ministers who were present. But I think that the decision was taken largely because of what the Honorable Akando experienced. Because after they had an engagement with the leadership, so many issues came up as a result of that engagement that probably informed his decision to engage His Excellency the President, for the President to take this initiative by directing the dismissal of the Chief Executive Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. In any case, what is the Ghana Medical Association saying? Are they beginning to question the authority of the President or the Minister of Health to sack CEOs of teaching hospitals? Absolutely not. So they must be careful. What the minister is exposed to, they are not exposed to it. If they have concerns and they need to understand the rationale behind that decision, the minister's doors are open. This attitude of us jumping the gun and trying to release press statements largely because we are interested in satisfying our support base must stop, especially with an institution like the Ghana Medical Association. They could have walked to the Minister of Health, engaged the Honorable Akondo, try to understand the rationale behind the decision of the government to sack him. And if they were not happy, then they proceed to issue such a statement. But reading the statement, Moro, is clear that they simply read what the media churned out and decided to issue a statement at the back of that. You listen to the Minister of Health there. The enormous respect demonstrated and appreciation of the sacrifices of our health professionals on the ground. He didn't mince words in making references to them. The kind of respect and the appreciation he has for them was known. And he said that it was not even only Tamale Teaching Hospital, but many of our health professionals across the length and breadth of this country. He appreciates and he knows that they are working under difficult circumstances. But they need to still put in their very best. Because the government is working to find solutions to many of the challenges confronting them in their respective hospitals. So this press statement is needless, in my opinion. It's entirely needless. Let us not bring politics to the doorstep of our health administration system. That would be dangerous. That would be a dangerous thing to do. And you see, you have a president who listens. And fortunately, you have an assertive health minister who is very open and can be easily accessed. If you have any concerns, go out there, engage him, so that he can explain why certain decisions are being taken. But one thing you must also know is that when it comes to these professional bodies, the issuance of press statements are largely also driven because of their own personal interests that you and I may not know. Because you see, they are open to elections. Sometimes they would have to go to be considered for re-election by their professional base. So they need to do certain things to create the impression that they are fighting the interests of that professional base. So we must find a way of distilling it, knowing when they are actually pursuing the interests of their professional base and when they are pursuing their own political interests, largely because of their ambitions. And so my caution to them is that they must be careful. They must engage the health minister, try to understand why the government took the decision it took, and not confuse possibly their political ambitions or desires with the standard practice in the system. And if there are any concerns, I am sure that if they make sense, the Minister of Health, the Honorable Akondo, will respond to them and give it its pride of place. But we are dealing with a very committed government that listens, and Ghanaians should not be afraid. Today, I'm here on this platform defending a doctor that many felt that disrespected our ministers of state. That is the kind of party and leader we speak for. And so Ghanaians should be rest assured that even when it comes to upholding the principles of our democracy, the NDC will take a cue from His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama and will do everything in our bid to eschew arrogance and rather listen to the good people of this country and do what they desire.
So let's bring in Eric. Eric, how do you see this whole development at Tamale Teaching Hospital? I mean, what's your take on it?
I would start by saying that elections have consequences. Now, I mean, in all of these conversations, it's almost a remiss if we do not extend our condolences to the bereaved family. It doesn't matter how many people or who that individual is. Once you lose your life under those circumstances, it's not something that we should be happy about. It should be untenable. And if it's as a result of systemic issues or even issues to do with negligence, by all means, let the due process take place. Now, it turns out that even this whole conversation actually happened at the theater section of a hospital.
Yeah.
With media people, with a minister and a deputy minister and an MP, and the circus or the theatrics that comes with it. And for me, I think that's the reason why we are discussing this. Now, when it happens like that, we move away from dealing with the real issues as to why is it the case that in 2025, we're still having challenges with issues in our health sector, issues that if you probably take any newspaper as far back as whatever, you'll still be talking about these things. And so it's not the case that nobody appreciates the fact that a lot needs to be done, and we have to hold our health professionals to the strictest sense when it comes to professionalism and even the way they do their work. But I find it a bit, if you like, crude in terms of how this whole thing was done, in terms of engagement. In all of these conversations, I didn't even see any real disrespect in that sense from any of the doctors. You understand what I'm saying? There was an issue. I mean, this is the only country where this whole conversation around superiors and all of that becomes a problem. You go into somebody's territory, as far as the person is concerned, you're in his domain. He has every right to explain himself, and you have to give that individual. I mean, my brother here is a lawyer. I mean, there's always the fundamental principle of he has to be heard. You understand what I'm saying? So if there are issues on the ground, and he believes that these issues are above his head and requires the support of a ministry or even by extension the government, he has every right to prefer that.
Okay, so
now if you go ahead,
sorry.
Let me just.
Before you come in, it's important that I chip this in. Mm-hmm. I think it would help with your submission on the matter. So there are two separate issues.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There was some misunderstanding between, or engagement, polemics, engagement between Alas and Suweni, who's the MP for Tamale North, and then a certain doctor called Dr. Valentine.
Yes, I've seen her.
Okay. And apparently, Dr. Valentine had made a certain comment, which Alas and Suweni felt was a bit insensitive, and that it was an insult to the sensibilities of the family that had lost a certain Atiku guy when I read the story. So he was trying to draw his attention to it and to tell him that, look, when you say these things, it makes it look like you don't care. The doctor insisted and said the matter had been blown out of proportion. So that was what triggered the back and forth between Alas and Suweni and the Dr. Valentine guy.
Yeah,
so that's separate.
No, yeah, I appreciate. Thank you. I appreciate.
No, just let me just. I beg you. Yeah. And I know you like to make informed analysis. It's a percent work. I agree. And then there's another. In fact, the doctor himself, who has been sacked, came there and told the gentleman, the Dr. Valentine guy, to relax and just listen to what his superiors were saying. You know, so that's why it ended. So he didn't have any.
I agree.
Okay, because you made a comment earlier.
No, but I'm dealing with the entire
misunderstanding may have led to.
Yes, I'm dealing with the entire.
Okay.
Even interaction and how it was done in the full glare of the media with cameras and all of those things in a hospital.
Sure.
You know, so in one breath you have somebody that is actually asking for a certain strict compliance and adherence to best practices when it comes to health and all of that.
Yeah.
And he walked into a theater with hordes of cameras, and I mean,
they don't walk into any theater.
But it was in a hospital. It close to a theater. Well, but that's what I'm saying. That.
Okay.
So all of these things are avoidable. Now, because of what has happened, we are even moving away from the real issues of challenges within the health sector. Some of it which are issues to do with maybe the executive oversight, and so you can now blame the government, you know, when I say government in that sense, and then also even the professionals themselves. And what we have done is that over the period, we've actually muddied the two. And so sometimes when it even comes to actually making sure that professionals or technocrats or whoever are supposed to be held to the strict, I mean, in terms of strict proof, in terms of adherence and all of that, then it becomes politics. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then it's also very interesting that just 24 hours after this whole conversation, the CEO has been asked to leave. Now, what the GMA is saying is that, yes, you have every right to terminate his appointment, but there are set tenets, and that there's even a Teaching Hospitals Act that are supposed to be followed in terms of due process. And so even if that's what you want to do, by all means, go through that process so that everybody is convinced that the incident that happened in the last 48 hours or so is not the reason why you are letting go of this profession. Because it's such a glaring, obvious, coincidence that you cannot, overlook that.
But Hamza also said, just a minute. Hamza also said, in fact, in the submission that the matter about the man's managerial competences in terms of his ability to manage the facility has come under scrutiny for many years. In fact, he mentioned 3 years ago.
I have no qualms. I
so
have no qualms as a professor.
Because of your mention of the 48 hours.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that. But that is why I'm saying that. Okay. It is also clear, very glaring, that the minister has been in office for maybe at least 2 months or so, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. And then he walks into Tamale Teaching Hospital, and then he makes that decision the next day that this man has to go, without following, I'm quoting GMA, without following the due process. And GMA, as a professional body, have every right to respond. And it's also very interesting and it's rich coming from my brother to say that you have to be almost suspicious of communication that comes from professional bodies because it might not be in the interest of the entirety of the professional body, and that certain individuals are using it to, if you like, project or promote their ambitions. Do you understand what I'm saying? And if you do that, it means that you're actually also, in a way, trivializing the conversation, because they have every right to protect the members who are part of that particular profession. Imagine somebody making the same reference to if, for example, a journalist on the course of duty finds themselves being assaulted by political opponents or whatever it is. You understand what I'm saying? And then the communication is that, the GJA president is doing that because he's seeking re-election. Doesn't make any sense to you. You know, so sometimes we have to eschew some of the hardcore politicization of these things and come to the main issue, the crux of the matter. Do we have challenges in our health sector? Yes. Should they be resolved? Fine. But is that the way that a minister of health is supposed to use, if you like, the whole theatrics that comes with it to resolve and to be seen to be working? No. And that is what, as far as I'm concerned, the GMA disagrees with. But going forward, I believe strongly that a proper investigation should be done. And it should probably not be just the Tamale Teaching Hospital. We need to do a proper audit in terms of how these facilities across the length and breadth of this country are actually treating our citizens, right? Because there are also complaints that come from various citizens that even when you walk into, let's say, a public sector health facility like we have, right, there's a tendency to even direct you to a private institution, and you go there and maybe you find the same persons there or claiming that the facilities in these public sector health facilities are not working and that the private sector ones are working, right? So we can investigate all of these things. But it's unfortunate that we've lost an individual because of some of these things. I mean, and that is not one of the things that I think that we should tolerate. But due process should be done. And then in the conversation around even the GMA consulting the minister, it can have been done the other way around as well, because there are major stakeholders in the health care delivery. And so if for anything the minister decides that, okay, these are the issues that are confronting us, as a minister I have a set of decisions that I want to make. I need some sort of clarity on the matter, or even I want to even go and look at the act that governs these particular institutions and use due process. Now, nothing would have been missed. So I think that, as far as I'm concerned, let's move away from these, if you like, tactics and a certain media. It's almost as if that there's a certain media frenzy for some of these people, and they want to be seen and all of that. The job, like, they ground, right? And so there's one thing talking about it when you're in opposition and being, let's say, a ranking member and, waxing lyrical and all that.
Okay.
And there's another thing when you're actually given the opportunity to run the affairs of that particular ministry and the reality on the ground. And that is, for me, that's what should be the most important thing.
Are you aware that on the 11th of April, the same Akando was at a Rich Hospital, Greater Accra Hospital? It wasn't followed by dismissal of anybody. So
no, I have. You see, but you know me, I don't have an issue with.
Yes,
the same. I don't have an issue with that as an individual.
No, it's not.
I'm saying that the event. So even, my brother here is talking about the fact that people in Tamale have even vouched for the CEO.
As a medical doctor.
Yeah, but let's see it. Let's vouch for the CEO and vouch for the other doctor, young doctor who was a Valentine and all that. And so it looks like as if that whatever they do even goes beyond the remit that they're supposed to, right? So you can have challenges with his administration, whatever, managerial competence and whatever. But the point is that it doesn't take away from going through the due process so that people are very certain in their minds that it's not being done because you feel that whatever. Because, if you start making reference to you don't speak to a superior or what have you and you can't manage, because in any case, in as much as the CEO has a responsibility to ensure that water runs in the hospital 24/7. There's also somebody high above whose responsibility is to make sure that there's water in Tamale. And if you're going by those tenets, you're going by those standards, and you feel that the CEO is incompetent or has lapses in his administrative capacity, you can do a direct line reference to the minister himself. You understand what I'm saying? And in other jurisdictions, when these things happen, even in, let's say, like I can make reference to the UK, for example, where they have all this trust and everything. You can have an incident happen in a trust, and it has nothing to directly link to even the NHIS. And the person at the top will take responsibility for that.
Yeah, but
right? So you cannot shirk your responsibility or ensure that your supervisory responsibility is done to the letter and start sacking people.
But the water crisis is a Tamale problem. Right? And as Hamza and other people have said, if you're CEO of a facility, you're in charge, you must explore alternative ways of making sure that
I have no challenge. I have no challenge.
No, because you said somebody should also be blamed for shirking their responsibility.
I have no challenge with that. But the point is that if if we are actually looking at dealing with this issue and getting to the bottom of it and making sure that incidents like this do not happen, the persons or persons who are responsible for ensuring that there's water are also to be held culpable. That is my point. Otherwise, if you're saying that you can find other means, yes, you can find other means, but you have issues to do with logistics, you have issues to do with finances, you have other issues. His responsibility is to inform the ministry that supervises the hospital that we have these challenges. Maybe he hasn't done it, maybe he has done it, but if you actually investigate and you give him an opportunity to tell his side of the story, maybe...
Let's just use this quick analogy. I have to go on a break, I beg you. Let's just a quick analogy. So let's say you live, I don't know where you live, but I suspect that you live in East Legon, I think so. I can easily hazard a guess. So let's say you are living in the house. You know that on specific days, water does not flow. You know where you live. You have a small boy or some young lady at home who is like a caretaker. And you tell the lady that make sure that on these specific days, you open the tap, water flows into the poly tank, and I'd recommend that they buy the poly tank. If you haven't bought, buy the one that I've been advertising, poly tank, So water fills the poly tank. And then you come back the same day, you come home and the water has not been filled in the poly tank. So you open the taps and the water is not flowing. Would you immediately blame the lady whom you have asked or whoever the caretaker is, who's supposed to make sure that two things, either they buy water from some of these guys who go around selling water, okay, in poly tank, or private water, tanker water supplies. You know, there's this, Would you blame him or her for not filling the tanks in your absence? Or you would come home and say, well, there's no water at home, but I'll not blame you. I'll blame Ghana Water Company Limited and by extension the government.
No,
Which one would be your immediate?
That's an analogy that can be said, with all due respect, a bit flawed. Because maybe you didn't leave her money to buy water.
No, you gave her money, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
no, her issue is not money.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That
she also says I couldn't be bothered to buy water for Eric because after all, it's government's responsibility.
Moro, I have no qualms with a CEO or anybody responsible for any sector being relieved of their position because of lack of application of what they're supposed to do or
for derelicting of their
duty. I have no qualms with that. Okay. I'm saying that. He used the word due process and the fact that NDC is whatever, which we know is not the case. I'm sure there are other conversations that we would have. Saying that because of that, they are the ones who swear fidelity to a constitution and all of that. Yet, they did not follow the due process. And per what the GMA is saying, due process was not followed. Now, the minister now went back to even say that he does not have to tell whoever it is that the reasons behind the termination of the man's appointment. And that is not what the Act says. You understand? Because the teaching hospital is governed by a board. And it's governed by rules and regulations, an act that was passed by Parliament, and the minister himself is a member of Parliament. Okay. And so if people who are members of Parliament who are passing these laws are themselves flouting these same laws that they are passing in Parliament, then there's a certain disconnect, there's disjoint, and that's the point. And for me, I think that when these things happen, instead of thinking that it's an affront to the government, also take a step back and listen to the point of view of the GMA.
All right.
It's as simple as that.
All right. So Hamza, I'll bring you in so that you can give your concluding remarks because we need to move to our second topic. But we need to do this. We have to sell. We have to sell. Just give us 30 seconds. You're still on. You're live on Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. Remember that this show is also live on 94.1 FM. That's on your radio dial. In case you want to leave home, you're on the move, you want to monitor, please tune into 94.1. It's very clear. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
A time in Ghana when waste was everyone's problem and no one's responsibility. Do you remember when as children going to Bola was such a chore? When the guys who worked with waste are shunned in the community, we seem to have forgotten them days when waste management was not dignified. Then came a vision, bold, unshakable, one that believed sanitation was not just a service but a symbol of dignity. A revolution quietly began. A transformation from one Obuafo tricycle to thousands of waste collection vehicles. From open dump site to adding value to waste. From a job no one wanted to one that feeds thousands of homes. From dump site to dignity.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Charlie, I'll be you from the future. Who doesn't sleep on that slice of bread you call mattress anymore? Don't some slippers then follow me. It is by the mattress we did it from there. Yeah? That'll be the mattress where the dead for. Wait, what are you doing? Wow! No damage at all. Not only durable, but also super comfortable. Come on, try it.
Nothing day like Ash Foam. Enjoy full body support and unparalleled comfort for a restful sleep.
Don't forget your keys.
Get the premium sleep experience with mattresses from Ash Foam. Visit any of our showrooms nationwide or at ashfoam.com.
MGL Logistics and Supply is your trusted partner, providing seamless solutions for all your procurement needs. From sourcing products to managing imports and exports, we ensure smooth and efficient transactions every step of the way. Whether you require goods from across the globe or need assistance in exporting your products to international markets, we got you covered. General trading is at the heart of our expertise. We specialize in a wide range of products, catering to various industries and markets. As a trusted dealership in building materials, we provide high-quality products that meet the demands of our construction projects. Additionally, we act as manufacturers' representatives, connecting producers with distributors. Our expertise in logistics is the backbone of our operations. We plan and execute transportation and delivery of goods, ensuring they reach their destination on time and in optimal condition. MGO Logistics and Supply, guaranteed satisfaction.
You the answer to my prayers. You're with me everywhere. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need tonight. Give me shelter from the rain. You breathe life in me again. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need to know tonight.
Mommy.
Michelle say, fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Chocolate Toothpaste. Healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Chocolate Toothpaste. Sankofa.
Yenchi, Kel Chocolate Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
You want to get polytank?
Oh, and you're right.
Go straight.
No, I want to left, right.
That's right. Ghana na yewono. So when you do more, any data. Who knows? I beg, na here. Me pe polytank at all. And you just come in here by you to put your number here. Oh, put the beer and enjoy your bra.
Akuya bulambo kotoman. Emua.
Like that, they took my eyes. Go to the distributor and you give the original polytank. Polytank. You get a sound?
Polytank. Papananka Sankasa.
At the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, our mission is to promote good driving standards on our roads and other public places. We can only achieve this by ensuring that every driver and vehicle owner has access to quality services and the right information to stay compliant with road safety regulations. This is why we are excited to introduce the 2025 National Community Outreach Program, an initiative designed to bring our services and education closer to the public. This initiative is to actively engage transport unions, corporate entities, and communities. We invite you to stay connected as we bring DVLA services right to your doorstep. At DVLA, your safety will continue to be our concern.
I'm a branch manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printers. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
Cratchy, unemu bua unkoisha Dr. Ban uye denwa.
Oh, Missy Yamfan come and me burua. Mammy go bro. Don't you tell me bra. Mummy Yamfan call Dr. Ban ho. Dr. Ban oya de. Bra, somebody no mpemu adwuma sasabro slow. Dr. Ban oya.
Hey, sorry, let me call America. Oh, no mpemu nimdi ono na ye expect nya zanfo no. O akra any Kumasi no mpemu expect yen kan kire.
Anyway, we're back. This is Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Aldumor. I'm here with Eric Chum, who is a member of the MPP's communications team, and also Hamza Suwini is a private legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC's communications team. Now, you don't want to see the kinds of things that happens off air, the kinds of conversations we have. Very, very interesting. Some of those ones we can't say it. We say that a country go 10 outside us. So we'll say what we believe you need to hear. But anyway, so let's come back. So if the two of you can do wrap up quickly, so that we can move to Justice Tokono. That's our next topic.
Okay, makes sense. Moro, I think that it is for a reason that in my initial commentary on the subject matter, I labored to make the point that the response of government was clearly measured, and the conduct of the health minister, and of course the deputy minister in charge of roads and highways, seemed not to be out of the expected way an officer of the state should behave.
Okay.
I also did everything to bring to the attention of our viewers, and most importantly, I think my colleague in the studio, that indeed the doctor at the center of the controversy is one that we must celebrate and not seek to denigrate, irrespective of how strongly we felt about his outbursts. And I provided justification for that outburst on the part of the said doctor. That tells you the objective approach I demonstrated to the impasse. I also labored to bring about a distinction between the said Dr. Valentine and the CEO that has been fired. I remember telling you that he's also another good gentleman, but I proceeded to make the point that possibly one of the reasons that informed the decision of the president and that of the health minister to ask him to step aside could be the water situation. I did not say that it was solely a decision taken on the basis of the water crisis at Tamale Teaching Hospital. I made reference to the clip you played and questioned the rationale of having somebody still in place as CEO if a basic necessity like water is not even available for hospital use. Any appointing authority waking up to this reality would be scared. And that is why I said that possibly, I remember even saying that immediately after that they had an engagement with the hospital staff. You were not part of the meeting. I was not part of the meeting. So we are unable to tell what other issues came up that informed the decision of the government to sack the CEO. That is why I recommended and I berated the modus operandi of the Ghana Medical Association in terms of that decision to release a statement without engaging with any of our state agencies. Because if you speak, if you are the mouthpiece of a professional body, one would expect some measured approach that would be informed by actual access to credible information before you issue such statements. And it's because I don't see that in that statement that pushed me to the conclusion, which you know is the reality, that when it comes to how these professional associations work, there's always a conflict. I have headed one before. I have served as NUC's president. There were instances, I must confess, and that was what informed my decision. There were instances that I issued statements on behalf of Ghanaian students without necessarily speaking with the institutions that I ought to have spoken to before coming out with such statements. And later only to find out that if I had spoken with them, the tone or the content of my statement would have been different. And that was a caution I made. Sometimes you do those things because there's pressure on you by your professional members. And you also want to impress upon them that you are working in their interest so that when there's a bid for re-election, they can quickly re-elect you. You know that is the truth. This is not limited to the Ghana Medical Association alone. But in criticizing the conduct of government officials and CEOs of hospitals in our bid to ensure that we have a working system, especially when it comes to health delivery, we must not spare professional bodies also taxed with the responsibility of contributing their quota in that regard. And so if their quota, if their contribution is destructive and appears to have personal interest rather than the collective interest of the organization, I think that we should be at liberty to prompt them and tell them to begin to work on it. My brother also made reference to the fact that this business of having cameras in an effort to downplay the modus operandi of our health minister. And I was happy that you drew his attention to his recent visit, where was the name? To Ridge Hospital. Tomorrow, if you are familiar with the conduct of the Honorable Akando, he is not an appointee. From day one, you ought to have known that this is not an appointee who would sit and warm his chairs like we had in the past. There are many appointees. They wake up on a daily basis, they drive to their offices, and they sit in the chair from morning to evening. They have no idea of what is happening in institutions under them. This is not that kind of a leader. He's a young man who is committed to ensuring that institutions under him work. And he knows that he would not be able to achieve that by simply going to the Ministry of Health every morning to warm his chair. There's the need for him to go out there and interact with hospital administrators, interact with the people on the ground, the users of these facilities, because they are also important stakeholders. And so if you see a minister out there, because there's an emergency situation in Tamale Teaching Hospital, and he gets up from his office and flies there, he should be commended, because he had first-hand information by simply going there. But in the past, Appointees were comfortable in their offices. What they simply did was simply to warm their chairs. This government is not that kind of a government. No.
Right.
We are a government that is committed to ensuring that we bring attention to the challenges we have in the system and we find solutions to them.
Okay.
Mind you, what I fear that those who are raising concerns, especially from the other side of the political divide, like my brother and co, beautifully done, is simply because they know that if we go onto the grounds, we will interact with the people and we will get to know the challenges confronting these systems and we begin to respond to them, then the Ghanaian people would have known that in the past what they had in place was simply a bunch of people who were interested in warming their chairs. Okay. So they are doing everything possible to discourage our appointees from going out there to actually find out the teething problems, bedeviling their sectors. And I would use this platform to encourage every appointee that in the spirit of our revolution from the PNDC to NDC, the NDC is not a party that sits in offices to warm chairs. We are a party built and owned by the people, and we must step out of the comfort of our offices and go onto the grounds. That is the only way we will begin to appreciate the frustrations of the ordinary Ghanaian, the challenges they face on the street, and that is the only way we can find solution to those problems. If you don't know the challenges, how do you find solutions to them? So they must go out there. They must not be discouraged by this recent fixation by our opponents to discourage them under the guise of cameras on show. They must go out there and engage in that show if it will result in providing solutions to the many challenges that our people down there are facing. Governance is not in Accra. Governance is in every district and every community in this country. And we will require them to go out there and interact with the people and find solutions.
Eric, I'll also bring you for a concluding remark. But before I do that, let me say that there's a big event that's happening soon. And this event is on April 29. It's the Money Summit. The Money Summit. So the Business and Financial Times, in partnership with the EcoBank Ghana, brings to you the 5th edition of the Money Summit. It's a solutions-based event aimed at discussing investment and pensions management, thereby enhancing the financial sector and the overall growth of the Ghanaian economy. Now, this year's summit is on the theme, and BNFT, anyway, is on the theme, optimizing investment and pensions management, strategies for sustainable retirement income and economic growth, and is scheduled for Tuesday, April 29, 2025. At the Kempinski Hotel, Accra, at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Now, the 5th edition of the Money Summit 2025 is powered by the Business and Financial Times in partnership with EcoBank Ghana and support from the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, NIT, Stanbic Bank Ghana Limited, Stanbic Bank Ghana. There's Regulus Investment and Financial Services, Fidelity Bank Ghana, Glyco Pensions, World Vision Ghana, HR Certification Center, and then the Bank Hospital. Media partners are Metro TV, Asasi Radio, 3FM, City FM, YFM, Happy FM, and TV3. Call 020-945-7427. The number again, 020-945-7427 for further details and inquiries to register your virtual seat to participate. Now, attendance at the venue is strictly by invitation. Individuals who would like to be a part of the event, please get in touch, okay? Or can get some more information from our social media handles, BFT Ghana. BFT Ghana. So go there and get some more information, and then I'm sure that you get to interact with the organizers and seek some clarifications that you want to seek as far as this event is concerned. Eric, would you want to have your final take?
Well, I mean, I think that I'm done with this particular. So my point is very clear.
All right.
That there's a lot to be done. I mean, we can dance around the issues. In as much as the NDC or the government has a right to do whatever it thinks that is right, the GMA also has a right, it has a responsibility to its members. And if it feels that a member of the GMA is being treated in a manner that is not right, they have every right to point that out. My view on this matter is that this morning there should be water. Right, the minister has taken the time to go there. And the question that we should be asking ourselves this morning is that, as we speak, is there water at the Tamale Teaching Hospital? If there's no water, then really this whole razzmatazz and this brouhaha, everything, it's unnecessary. It hasn't really yielded any results. And as far as he's talking about Ghanaians, what the Ghanaians expect is that their leaders, their leaders, right? Their leaders act rather than show whatever it is that they're showing, right? So if you're leading by sending cameras to wherever you go, and the real issues or the gravamen of the matter is not being dealt with, then really what is it that you have done? So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, let's fix the issues. Okay. The challenges are there. We know what the challenges are. Let's have a clear indication of who is responsible for what and deal with it. Okay. But it doesn't take away from also going by the due process so that everybody's right is restored.
All right, so Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm says, good morning, my brother. My brother, in my humble opinion, the Minister of Health and Honorable Suini owes nobody an apology. The minister did what he did in the interest of the good people of Tamale. The minister did not just get up to go to Tamale Teaching Hospital. It was because of the suffering and the bad treatment that the good people of Tamale are going through at the hospital. GMA should give us a break. According to them, the minister and Honorable Suini shouted at the doctor, God have mercy. The minister has every responsibility to do that. We should not forget. No, the minister has no right to shout at anybody. Hamza, don't do that. He's also a public servant. You can talk to them, but don't shout at them, okay? And then he says, no, he said a minister has a right to shout at somebody, Hamza, and I'm saying that no minister has a right to shout at anybody. So we should, it says, God have mercy, the minister has every responsibility to do that. We should not forget that the bus stops at him. For some years now, the teaching hospital has been a crime scene and criminally managed by the management. My brother, go to Tamale behind the scene with your cameraman and see things for yourself. I'm speaking as a proud Dagomba from Tamale, and I am concerned. Yes, Hamza, I know you come from there, so I understand where you're coming from. Good morning, Moro. Yes, it's all right for one to render an apology when something is done or said well. But in this Tamale Teaching Hospital case, is the GMA asking the minister to apologize for visiting the hospital or for interrogating the CEO and hospital staff? And for the fact that the CEO has been relieved of his post, what exactly is the GMA asking the minister to apologize for? Sam Kelly in East Legon Hills. This one here says that, that's my final, so Evans Dinko Garu says, today, MPB's Eric Chum is talking about due process. Allahu Akbar. He should tell us what due process we're taking on sacking Dr. Thomas Anawa, the CEO of the Rich Hospital. You see the hypocrisy of the TTH hospital doctors. They should tell us the faulty or no equipment which is lacked in at the hospital, which they have listed where they in the last 8 years but vanished after 7 January. Why were they not demanding them until now? The NDC government led by Mills Mahama built and upgraded the hospital as a specialist referral and teaching hospital and equipped it to the teeth. The doctors at the hospital should tell us what MP government has added to the hospital in terms of infrastructure and equipment. What is the minister apologizing for? More relax and allow the reset in Ghana to go on. Okay, so Musa from Abattoir finally says that, Musa Abattoir in Asawasi says, it's commendable leadership by the health minister for stepping in decisively to restore hope and confidence in our public health system. His recent visit to the Tamale Teaching Hospital sends a clear message that accountability matters. The conduct of the CEO has been increasingly unbecoming, and it was only right that appropriate action be taken. The minister's intervention shows that the welfare of the patients and integrity of our hospital remain top priority. Anyway, so these are some of the messages that you have sent. But I would have expected the minister to, perhaps after the termination of the appointment of the CEO, to have at least issued a statement in response to the GMA and sort of set the record straight, because the information out there until we host government communicators to communicate on the matter is entirely different from what the fact on the ground, here has been, as Hamza has told all of us. And so maybe Health Ministry, if you can issue a statement and explain exactly why you went there and why you decided to, for instance, terminate the contract or revoke the appointment of the CEO. It would be really helpful to all of us so that we can have it as a record which has been put out there. But yes, big commendations to not just the health minister, but everybody else who decides to leave their offices and go and check and get a real hands-on, see things for themselves, how the persons who they put there are fair in terms of doing their job. It's a highly commended, whether in DC MPP, anybody who does it, it's something that we must highly commend, you know. Anyway, so finally, we are beginning to learn why the Chief Justice or the suspended Chief Justice is now has been more or less asked to step aside, and very interesting details are beginning to emerge. On this show, we were asking what are the petitioners petitioning the president about? Why do they think it is so, grievous or so grave to warrant her sack or her dismissal from there as a Chief Justice? So we're beginning to get some details, and the various newspapers have reported us and telling us what, in the view of the Council of State, forms a basis why a prima facie case has been established or determined against Ghana's Chief Justice, for which reason a committee has been set up, and the committee is going to start work, I'm told, soon. And in the meantime, she has to step aside for the committee to do their job. We're not saying she's guilty, but there's an issue. She has a case to answer, and so the committee is going to do their work. And we already know who and who are going to be a part or members of the committee. But yesterday, the MPP also, the national organizer, there was a big event where the party officially launched its thank you tour. And in that event, or at that event, the national organizer had cause to say that it's an attack on the judiciary of this country. For them, it's not just the dismissal of or the suspension of Justice Iraba Tokonu, but it's also an attack on the judiciary. So, two issues in one. The new crusading guide is, of course, it's an attack on the judiciary, and they will do everything possible to make sure that the decision is reversed by going on public protest and so on. So the new crusading guide today, this is how it reports it. And it says that the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu, has strongly denied allegations of misconduct and incompetence leveled against her in a petition submitted to the President by private citizen Daniel Ofori, describing the claims as unfounded and unsupported by evidence. Now, in a detailed response addressed to President John Mahama at Jubilee House, the Chief Justice dismissed all 25 allegations, including 21 of misconduct and 4 of incompetence, arguing that the petitioner failed to present the necessary evidence to establish a prima facie case as required under Article 1461 of the 1982 Constitution. Says despite the number of complaints submitted in this petition, no evidence of the subject matters raised have been presented to even raise a presumption of wrongdoing. Justice Tokonu stated. She further questioned the legal standing of Ofori, noting that many of the allegations concerned third parties who had not authorized the petitioner to act on their behalf. There's travel allegations and financial accountability. Now, addressing specific claims, including one concerning the misuse of public funds for travel, the Chief Justice clarified that she neither authorizes nor administers her own per diems and travel arrangement. Now, these are determined by the Article 71 Committee and processed by the Judicial Secretary and Director of Finance. I am not a signatory to any account and do not have access to the account of the Judicial Service. Supporting documentation, including travel receipts and retirement of interest, was attached to her submission as proof of transparency. Court records tampering accusation denied on allegations of interfering in judicial proceedings, particularly the case involving Honorable James Jachikwesi. Justice Tokonu described the claims as baseless. She revealed that a matter of digitally altered court records was referred to the National Signals Bureau for investigation, and that she had no direct contact with any accused staff members. Now, as head of the judiciary, had no duty to interact with the lawyer of the accused persons. All other processes were handled by the relevant officers. Previously, resolved matters in double jeopardy. Now, Justice Tokonu had accused the petitioner of reviving previously dismissed claims, including those raised in a similar petition by Professor Stephen Kwekwasari in 2024. She cited legal doctrines such as res judicata and autrefois acquit. Sure, Hamza will help me with this. Then, as autrefois acquit, argued that the Constitution prohibits retrying the same issue in the same forum. And I've seen Professor Kwekwasari his statement on this judicata matter. A very interesting take on that, but I'm not a lawyer, so I can't appreciate it the way it's used. Anyway, but generally speaking, there are 3 broad issues that have been raised, and she has responded to all of them. Hamza, are you satisfied with the responses that so far, from what you have laid, what you're privy to? We have about, unfortunately, we have just 15 minutes. So we have to try and be very brief on this.
Yes, I'll try to be very brief.
Yeah, sure.
Because this is not a matter that needs to take much of our time.
Right.
You see, first of all, I have not seen any official correspondence from the president making public the content and identities of the, making public the contents of the petition. And of course, the identities of the petitioners.
Right.
It has not been done.
Okay.
And as a practitioner, I think that I am still very committed to the principles as enshrined under Article 146 in terms of the caution on us to ensure that the processes are done in camera. And to that extent, we are prohibited from proceeding to run commentary on purported leakages from the said petition. And so, as a member of a government that clearly intends to follow the laid down constitutional strictures to the letter, I would be a bit uncomfortable proceeding to run commentary on the basis of ifs. But what I would simply say, Moro, is that what you have read, I also saw it on another sister station, which is Asasi Radio, for the first time. And the responses, for that matter, or purported responses of the Chief Justice to the 3 petitions, I think they serialized it online yesterday. And I became a little bit concerned. Because we all know the leanings of Asasi Radio and the ownership structure of that entity. So I began asking myself, if these things are actually true, that these were actually the petitions filed against Tokono, and the purported responses actually constitute her responses, then who would have leaked it? Definitely not government, because government would not choose to use Asasi Radio, that is politically aligned, to leak such a document. And if my suspicions are grounded that that leakage could be coming from the office of the disgruntled or suspended Chief Justice, then clearly she would be in outright breach of Article 146(8) of the Constitution. That requires the processes to be in camera, and that in itself would have constituted justification for the committee set up by the president to find her not worthy to occupy that position. And you see, Moro, again, one of the perceptions out there against you largely has to do with your political nature in terms of where you align. And is it therefore not surprising that since the start of this issue, those leading the charge for her appear to be part of the same political party that people are accusing her of doing their bidding, or were accusing her of doing their bidding when she was Chief Justice? Today, we wake up to the first exposure after you have been asked to proceed on suspension to another known and well-connected radio station beginning to serialize the petitions and your responses. And remember, I think somewhere last week, I told my brother on this platform, Richard, that he should hasten slowly. Because we do not know the names of the petitioners and their professional backgrounds. More based on what they have released as Asasi Radio, it should be clear to all of us around this table that officers of the court played leading roles in submitting the petitions to the president. In one instance, based on what they have released, Asasi Radio, one of them is a lawyer. What business does he have to do with the National Democratic Congress? And that's why from day one we started cautioning them that if there is anybody making the issue a political issue, it is the NPP. Today, based on their report, their leakage, we know one Daniel Ofori in the past had an engagement with a case that involved the suspended Chief Justice. And of course, those on the other side of that case was Databank, Ken Ofareta and Co. To the point that the said petitioner, Daniel Ofori, had cause to call for the Chief Justice then to recuse herself. Not so?
Yeah.
Many things are coming up. If indeed what Asase Radio released is true. And any person seized with these facts would not resist the temptation to conclude that indeed a prima facie has been established.
Okay.
And so for me, reading the commentary, reading the so-called leakage, that's what the conclusion I came to. One important thing about the purported travel. I have seen it there too. The travel policy is very clear.
Okay.
It says private travel, you are supposed to go with your security person alone, and it will be borne by the state. But in her purported response, if it is true, the one being circulated by Asase Radio, the Chief Justice fails to bring a distinction between private travel and official travel. The accusation has to do with private travel, and there are restrictions as to how to travel privately.
Right.
So she was not responding to the petition when she sought to take the travel outside the private realms into official realms.
Okay.
Anybody or any president seized with such a response would come to the conclusion that there's the need for me to investigate this a little bit further.
Right.
Because the petitioner is talking about private travel and the restrictions around it, and in your response, you are seeking to respond using official travels.
Okay.
So clearly it calls for further investigation. And that is why I think that it was easier for the president in consultation with the Council of State to establish a prima facie case.
Okay.
Because if you look at what is being circulated, it is a bit problematic. And I feel terribly sorry for court users over the last 4 years.
All right.
Because you see, the frustration is quite glaring, not just on the basis of the petitions or the so-called petitions that we are told exist,
All right.
but largely even on the basis of polls conducted by credible organizations, from CDD to Afrobarometer and to their own NPP spokesperson, Nana Okomia, had cause on this very platform to indicate that indeed confidence in the judiciary had gone very low.
Okay.
So, Moro, this is a critical issue.
All right.
And the power belongs to the Ghanaian people.
Okay.
And if the Ghanaian people elect to exercise the power to reform their institutions by invoking Article 146, requiring the president to act, the president is enjoined under our laws to do so.
Okay.
And for me, what is exciting is that what the president has done so far cannot be said to be illegal.
Okay.
It is supported by our legal statutes, and for me, that is satisfying.
Okay.
My caution, however, to the NPP is that they must not make the case even worse for the suspended Chief Justice.
All right.
I think that she has what it takes to find appropriate lawyers to defend her.
Okay.
And when she appears before the committee, she would have all the time in the world to make her side of the case known.
All right.
But I am a bit worried about the purported leakage in the system. And you know that even in the past, not long ago, the president had cause to berate her for leaking her own official letter to the presidency. So it will not be surprising that indeed this leak once again came from her, largely because she was leaving, that she was asked to go on leave. Or she was suspended rather. So her conduct is a bit worrying. And when you run commentaries on this, it's not because you want her out. It is because you expect the highest level of standards from an occupant of that office. And her conduct so far makes it difficult for even people who would have wished to defend her to defend her.
All right. Let me bring in Eric. Eric, we have the next five minutes to end the show.
Moro, I mean, this is a very worrying development. It's a very clear affront to the very tenets of our Constitution that actually sort of seeks to have a clear separation of powers. An affront to the judiciary, which is an an arm of government that has the same, if not equal, responsibilities and contributes to the democracy that we've all clamored for. You see, Hamza tried to stay away from the subject and then came back now claiming that even the venerable Chief Justice has been culpable in terms of leaking documents and all of that without any clear evidence from that perspective. Now, knowing your ilk and the kind of politics you do, and even the justifications that you've tried to put out this morning, can be a clear indication of this whole thing coming from your stables. But, I mean, again, I don't speak for, I mean, when it comes to these matters, I don't speak for the Chief Justice. I have not gotten her permission to speak on her behalf. She has every right to defend herself. I believe strongly that even this whole conversation around a prima facie, in the way that it has been now articulated by Hamza, is flawed from the word go. And people have spoken. I'm not a lawyer. I mean, lawyers have suggested that even the Constitution itself and how it's being interpreted by the NDC and the President to a certain extent is even flawed to start with, and that we have to be looking at it from that perspective. How do you create a system where, I mean, Moro sitting there, somebody sends a petition to Metro TV that you did ABC, and so get off the show, and all of the things that are supposed to accrue to you are being investigated by people who sit in a room and even already pronounce you guilty. And then you have a composition of a committee that's supposed to sit in camera, and you're justifying that. And that's the reason why even the President has the responsibility of discretion, which means that whilst you're doing all of these things to suit whoever the hawkish elements within your political party or government who are asking for the head of the Chief Justice, some of these decisions have far-reaching consequential effects, and everybody knows that.
But she's not.
Now, but I'm just saying that, you see, so in one breath,
but she's not been pronounced guilty.
listen, in one breath, the same government claims that she has not been pronounced guilty.
Yes.
But you have elements like Hamza, I mean, charting a certain narrative. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes, I mean, it makes some of these conversations. It makes some of these conversations extremely, extremely. That's unfair. No, listen. Extremely.
You said your submission.
Have I said that the woman is guilty? No, listen. Extremely difficult because you see, you're actually attributing illegality and attributing certain things to her by a document that you claim that you cannot even corroborate, that you can authenticate. I mean, how do you, in one breath, right, make these pronouncements and say that even you can't authenticate that?
He says,
if
what is being
but that is the point.
He was not listening.
You see, listen, come on. I mean, I was sitting here quietly listening to you. It's a bit, I mean, it's a bit of a low blow for you to say that I wasn't listening. I'm listening to you. I respect you. I would listen to you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for me, I believe strongly that, you see, coming from the NDC, sometimes I quiver, and it's a bit, I mean, gut-wrenching for me, because this is coming from a people who have a history, an antecedent, right, of going into the homes of 3 judges, High Court judges, and they were murdered under their watch. You understand what I'm saying? So now, these are an ilk who have moved away from these, if like, extrajudicial killings to trying to use a thin-veiled, if you like, constitutional attempt to remove a Chief Justice based on some flimsy, whatever petitions that people have put out there. But for me, what I say is that when you do that, what you're doing is the same precedent that talks about Ghana's democracy and how far we've come and everything. It's single-handedly taking our democracy back to the dark old days. And this is not something that we should be countenancing just because it's politics and all of those things. And I back my political party saying that from the minority side, from the national executive angle, that it is something that should not be countenanced, and Ghanaians should resist it.
Okay.
Because you see, it will not stop there.
Okay.
They started with all sorts of things. There are elements within the security apparatus who are not happy because of certain things that have been done. People have been employed in various positions. They were, some of them, well in advance before even elections. You've removed them and all of that. And now you have actually now decided to go after a Chief Justice for what?
Okay.
You understand? So for me, I think that if we really are minded by the things that we say and we mean them, it should be anchored in principle.
Okay.
You cannot do these things and also be sitting on platforms, international platforms and everything, right, espousing democratic credentials.
All right.
You can't do that, right? And it is a clear affront to...
Moro, this is important. Just under a minute. Moro, see, this is very...
Otherwise, don't take us off.
No, Moro.
No, but you 30 seconds. He spoke for...
No, Maurice, I just want to correct an impression that he has stated. You see, when our colleagues are frustrated with the facts and they have no legal leg, they have no legal leg to stand on. What they simply do is to attempt to take solace.
I'm not frustrated at all.
Our, what's the name, outside the Fourth Republican Constitution.
Dark past.
That is PNDC,
which you
were
very proud of just
that is not what
just a few minutes ago. You were talking about your revolutionary past.
You are dealing with the Constitution, and the Constitution prescribes a certain rule for the president to follow.
If you do that, that's
if you feel that the president is not going according to the dictates of the Constitution, you people claim to be the doyens of legal.
Yeah, but the point is that if you do that, you're being unfair.
My brother, your frustration will not help the woman.
I'm not frustrated.
The point is that allow the system to work. You people took Charlotte Osei through a similar process. The NDC respected the process, and Charlotte Osei subjected herself. We did not interfere. So allow the process to work. If at the end of the day the Chief Justice is found not to be guilty, she would be cleared and she would go and continue her job. Stop stampeding the efforts of the Chief Justice in an attempt to defend herself. Everybody knows where you people stand.
All right, so let me just say this. Now, the registrar at Birth and Death has sent us a message. He says he wants to share this message or send this message to the Chief of Staff, the registrar at Birth and Death. He says that to the man who... Yes.
He's still sending messages.
Well, I think it's resolved. I believe so.
Okay.
It says, to the man who taught me to reach for the stars, your guidance has been a blessing in my life, has also helped me navigate life's challenges with faith. Your wisdom has been my compass, your support my anchor. May your birthday be as inspiring as you are. Wishing you a day filled with the same love you've always given me. That's coming from Honorable Adom Boche, who is a registrar at Birth and Death. And
he's a very good friend.
Oh, he's a very good friend of yours.
And of course, happy birthday to the Chief of Staff.
Yeah, he's a very good friend.
He's a very humble servant of the Republic, and also a humble servant of the National Democratic Congress. We can only hope and pray that many of us who are young also begin to reflect these humble attributes in our political discourse. That will make the country better. And of course, the MPP can also take a cue from his personality and learn to be humble. It's important.
Anyway, so Prosper Shikwe says, Moro, good morning. Your countenance has totally changed. I feel as if he doesn't want to communicate for the MPP. That poise and vociferousness is copiously missing. Truthfully, there's nothing to really communicate. There are no scandals to defend in recent times. That was work for them then. Let's enjoy the good governance by JM. The second, it's all let's all lend our support to grow in Mother Ghana. And finally, I know our time is up. But okay. So there's a 1 week observation.
Watch out for Cook Africa Season 2 coming to the Metro TV with Ahiniwa. This time around, we are coming with some surprises, prizes, and of course, it's Ghana Month. So watch out for some local delicacies on Cook Africa with your favorite Ahenewa.